Good evening, everyone. This is Joel McDonald, founder of JustGetOutOfTown.com. And I have been talking with my friends Sean and Janelle. They're friends from here in Denver, and they got me really excited about a trip that they're doing in India. So much so that I wanted to start kind of a new thing with Just Get Out of Town, and I'm calling it the Dumbest Guy in the Room series. And I say that because you all know me as someone who travels a lot, and I feel like I travel a lot, especially for someone who has a job here in Denver and has family, a wife with a job here in Denver, kids with school in Denver, and I managed to get out of town quite a bit. But Sean and Janelle make me look like a chump. They have traveled the world. They've seen Sean's seen over 100 countries. Janelle's seen over 50 countries. Together, they've been on all 7 continents, and they are a couple very amazing people. And every time we get together, I enjoy hearing their stories about travel, and they make me wish I was tagging along. And in fact, they are now putting together a trip to India, and they're letting anyone that wants to tag along come out. So with that said, I'd like to introduce Sean and Janelle. They are with Toward Awakening Travel. It's an amazing website, quite a bit different than what I do. I find cheap trips, tell you about them, and send you on your way. They're setting up something that is far more interactive and far more beneficial than that. So with that said, I'm going to kind of pass the torch to them, and they're going to tell us a little bit about their history and some stories from when they've been to India, and we'll just take it from there. So,
all right.
Thanks,
Hi,
Sean
guys.
and Janelle.
Hello. Yeah, thanks for having us, Joel. This is fantastic. We're excited to be here and excited to be doing it. It's good stuff.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Yeah. So we're here to talk about India.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. One of my favorite countries.
That's what I was going to say. It's one of my favorite countries.
Is it really?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Now, wait, guys. Let me just ask some people, because I'm not. It says waiting to view your screen, so I see you. But I don't know that everyone else can. Can people chime in that they see either Sean and Janelle or their screen?
Yeah, I can see them.
Okay, great. Sorry for interrupting. Take it away again.
All right. Well, one of my all-time favorite places is Varanasi. It's a very special place in my heart. How about you?
I love Kerala. I love all of India. I was there for 7 weeks and was able to see a fair bit of it, but there's just so much to see. But Kerala in the south was a very special spot. Very, very green and immersive. You just kind of got lost down there.
Yeah. So we're always the travelers in our groups of friends. We're the people that, when you ask, what are you up to this weekend? Just last week, I was in Morocco with my son for Thanksgiving. We went and hung out with the Berbers in the desert and rode camels and did that kind of thing, and came back to Denver and went to the gym, and somebody asked, what'd you do for Thanksgiving? I told them, and everybody kind of went, oh, that sounds really cool, and then kind of wandered away. And it's I think, I don't want to speak for you, but I always find that I'm the traveler of our group of friends, of the people that I know. And so we started a meetup in Denver. And what's the name of our meetup?
Our meetup is called International Travel with a Purpose, because much like Sean, I also am the traveler of my group, but now we are together. We've been together for 3 years, and so it was in the first 2 years that we hit all 7 continents together. And last April, we started International Travel with a Purpose because we wanted to build a community of travelers here in Denver, which is where we live, much like we meet when we're on the road. We both love to meet people of other cultures and other travelers. And it's something that when you are the traveler of your friend group, then you don't know that many when you're here in Denver. So
yeah.
That was the Cool.
And the biggest adventures are always things that other travelers would tell us. And to share tips and tricks, we've had Joel there, which is fantastic. If you guys are interested in travel hacking and how to go somewhere, I can't believe that you're up to it. But you have, after your Hawaii trip, you have a 500,000 points, no, 600,000 points left. That's incredible. And that's,
and Joel's going to be at our Tuesday
Joel's going to be
meetup.
here on Tuesday, which is great. It was, we did a segment with Joel about 6 months ago. And it was wonderful, and I highly recommend that you start paying attention to how Joel does what he does, and it's really good. So we have this meetup. It's great. We get a bunch of travelers in the same room. We start talking, sharing stories, talking about different places, and then it's come up more and more to start. Can we travel together? Can we put together a trip of something that we like, of an adventure? Now, Janelle and I in particular really look for the off the beaten path things. We went, well, Antarctica was a good one. One of the things I like to share is our adventures on Sulawesi, which is an island in Indonesia, last November. And we sought out, we were on Bali, and well, actually we were scuba diving in Komodo, and we met some people on the boat, and they were talking about attending a funeral in Sulawesi, which is a particular island in this region is called Toraja land, where if somebody, so the culture is amazing. If somebody dies, you have to sacrifice water buffalo, and a minimum of 6 water buffalo have to be sacrificed for them to have a good transition into the next phase. So if you don't have enough water buffalo at the time of death, that's okay, because you can label the person sick and keep them in their chair, in the house, you prop them up for dinner, they're just sick until you got enough water buffalo, and then you have the big thing and you invite the community. And the high end can be, I think, a 24, you get white water buffaloes that can be worth $300,000 US. You can imagine buying a white buffalo for $300,000 and then killing it. It's but so we heard about this, and so I started making some phone calls. There was no way to get over to Toraja land to go see a funeral, but I got on the phone with this guy who's like, if you can be there later, if you can be on this other island in this city at the airport later tonight, family members driving up here, and you can catch a ride and come out and participate in the funeral. So actually we weren't in Bali, we were on Java. We were in, we're in Yogyakarta. And so we got on an airplane, flew a couple islands over, and then participated in a funeral, which was one of the more traumatic events of my life.
It was really intense. But one of the takeaways were that was just by listening to other travelers, we got some great recommendations, and that we were also traveling in the off season. And when you're in certainly certain countries, in the off season, it can be really cheap and really easy. You don't have to be planning ahead. You don't have to have everything dialed in. You can leave time for serendipitous moments like that one. And so, at 3 o'clock, we were able to book a flight for 5 o'clock, and we were able to be on this other island by 7 o'clock. And that's one of the great things that we like to do is leave these moments and opportunities for new discoveries.
Yeah. So can you guys see our screen at this point?
Too fast.
Oop.
Joel, are you there?
Uh-oh.
Yes, I'm seeing it.
Okay. You're seeing the slideshow go by?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So one of the great things you'll see, this is all the events on the Indo trip. And one of you'll see there's a picture of us smoking. So we get to this funeral, and we walk in, and they're talking about, as we get there, you have to bring a gift. And they said either we could bring a live pig to be sacrificed as part of the meal, as part of the buffet, or we could bring a pack of cigarettes or a carton of cigarettes. And so we opted for the cigarettes instead of a live animal. As we walked into the place, they were definitely people arriving with live animals, and that's a picture of them preparing the buffet for the 400 or 500 guests that were coming. But so we walked in, we met the host, and they immediately offered us cigarettes. And so, they're blowtorching these animals where it's an overwhelming situation, and they offer us cigarettes. So I think that's
and if you can't tell, we're not smokers. So it's pretty funny.
So we're sitting there having cigarettes. So
any questions? Does anyone have any questions, Joel, or anything about that experience?
So I've added comments in the chat box. No one yet.
Okay.
Feel free to chime in, folks, if you have anything. I've muted you out because we had some background noise. So anybody that does want to ask a question, you can either type it in or ask me, or type in for me to unmute you, and then we can answer those questions.
So then, as we had this meetup community, and more people were asking us to facilitate a trip, our love of travel and the types of things that we look for are unusual situations. Very immersive is one of the guiding principles, whereas opposed to kind of sitting back, that you're doing homestays, you're rolling up your sleeves, you're involved. We do a lot of volunteer work here in Denver and abroad. And as we're putting the parameters around toward awakening travel, India was a really obvious fit. One of my most profound experiences there was in Varanasi, which is a city up north. I'll switch over just the slideshow to start showing that. And in Varanasi, it's a remarkable city. It's where the Bodhi tree is from Buddhism, and it's where people make the pilgrimage to go to get in the river to cleanse yourself. There's an annual festival there for Lord Shiva Day, which is the time I was there. While I was there, this is Varanasi. This is just tons of stories. This is the ritual at night. So we got in the Ganges, we got in these boats, and we're hanging out at this part of the river, looking at the kind of the big dais, and there's so many people. I think 300,000 people came to the city for this ceremony. And so we got in a boat, we're sitting in the river, and so that we have a really good view. And then all of these other boats started coming around us and blocking us in and settling up next to us. And it got so congested that pedestrians actually started walking across the boats. I was sitting in my little boat and I had people like walking over me because they couldn't get by the sidewalk. They're walking over the boats. And there was the smells, I have this guy, I have these monks right next to me that are obviously there for a very spiritual purpose. I have this guy that's trying to sell me chai. The two guys on my other side are fighting over who was there first and which one of their boats should be right next to our boat. And then the smells, the noise, the ceremony involves, let's see if I can show a little bit about it. They have 9 different people kind of 40 yards, maybe not 40 yards, 20 yards downstream from each other. And they perform a ritual and they'd hold up an object. And so it'd be like a burning candelabra, and then they bring it down. And then they'd hold up another object and it'd be a smoking incense thing, and then they bring it down. And then it'd be a cat, and then they bring it down. And then all of this is going on, and the sheer overwhelming cacophony of impressions of the breadth of the human experience just created a state in me that was just overwhelming. And it's by far one of the top 3 places on the planet for me, and I just love it. Mm-hmm. So as we have been deciding where we wanted to go first, and to a place, a series of activities, the types of things that we could be doing, India just made an awful lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was sold from the standpoint of just looking at your website and the itinerary you put together. Like I mentioned earlier, a lot of times I travel and I'd go based on I see a cheap fare, so I grab it and I go. But that's about the extent of my planning. But just seeing your plans and the different experiences that I would have, that's what got me really excited about it. Because I'll admit, India has been a little bit intimidating for me to think about just picking up and going. And the idea of going with a group who is from the States but likes India and has been there and has a recommended list of things to go do, sign me up. I'm all in.
What we found when I was there a couple of years ago, that I actually started my 6-month round the world trip in India, and I actually met my dad, who, as Sean just mentioned, was at the time was 85, and we were on a tour. And for those 2 weeks together, when we were together on this tour, I really feel like that prepared me for the rest of India, because I was there for 7 weeks total. And then India prepared me for the rest of the world. India is really that intense, but it's intense, it's rich, it's full of humanity. There is so much warmth and culture, and the people are just open and curious. And it's intense. It's an intense from the sounds, from the smells, from visual experiences. It really touches all parts of you. So just by showing up in India, you're having an experiential adventure and travel experience. Mm-hmm. And what we were trying to do in putting this together, we curated all these different things. As I mentioned, Sean and I have not been to India together, but we've both been to Delhi, we've both been to Jaipur. And we knew the things that really had left lasting impressions on us when we were there. And Delhi can be a pretty overwhelming city, and yet we were both really moved by the Sikh Gurdwara, which is right here. Sean's actually volunteering. This is one of the activities that we have planned, which this religion is nonviolent, and their goal is to feed anyone who asks for food. Yeah. Anyone who asks for food on any given day. So they feed thousands of people every single day in the center of Delhi. And it was such a remarkable experience. And everyone is welcome. And so they have, you have volunteers that you can go and help with the food prep. And that was one of the things that separately both of us were really impacted by. And we really wanted to bring that to the guests that come on the trip with us.
And one of the things that you'd see in the U.S., for instance, is a volunteer coordinator, and there would be somebody, even if you look at a scene like this where we're in the kitchens doing these types of things, and there'd be somebody with a clipboard just coordinating it. And there in Delhi, every position, there is no coordination. You fill in where you're needed, and it's fantastic. Mm-hmm. And it makes a really profound impression.
So what are for Joel, for you, what were some of the other things on the tour? We've got that really interested you. We've talked, we're planning to do a cycling tour in Delhi, as well as a market to table, essentially go to the market with a local family and then help them do a cooking class and then eat with a local family in Jaipur, which I know that's one of the things I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, that was one of them. So you already covered one, which was the volunteering and helping out locally, and seeing what that looks like. Because I've had the same experience here. I've gone to various shelters and tried to help out. Not during the typical times to go and see them, or not during the typical times like Thanksgiving and Christmas, but just, I don't know, any given time. And it was almost a negative experience because I was just another volunteer, and most of the people who were there every day working were just kind of like, yeah, here, go push a mop, or here, shovel this food out to people, and then go home and feel good about yourself for doing community service one day out of the year. Because that's their experience, and they almost didn't appreciate the volunteers because all we did was slow them down from what they wanted to do. And just seeing the pictures that Sean has shared with me, times we've gone to lunch and all of that, and seeing what that looks like in a culture like India was fascinating to me. And then, of course, a very close second was that the farm to table, going and shopping and eating with an actual Indian family and cooking with an Indian family. Are you kidding? You can't just buy a ticket and go somewhere and experience that. So those were things that interested me.
Maybe we should talk about the Holy Fest itself.
Yeah, do we want to maybe look at your site with your itinerary as we're talking about that?
Sure.
You could share that, or I could.
Got it here.
There we go.
It's towardawakeningtravel.com, and we're on the next trip page. And so we arrive and meet up in Delhi. We'll meet up in a hotel, and then we start off with a volunteer with the Sikhs that we had mentioned. And then one of the things I'm really excited about is Bollywood dance classes, which is so much fun.
Yes, it was one of the highlights that I had in Delhi the last time I was there. Joel, have you ever done a Bollywood dance class?
Have you ever seen a Bollywood movie?
I don't know that I have.
It's so good. If you picture Rocky Horror Picture Show with more color and a lot more jovial people, and so it doesn't matter what kind of movie it is in India. It can be a drama, it can be a murder mystery, it can be a comedy. Every 20 minutes there's a breakout dance party, kind of like in a Disney film where all the creatures and all the people start singing and dancing together. Well, the humans are doing it. And, the grumpy characters are all very excited and they start busting out the moves. And so one of the things that you can do in India is when you can go to these particular movie theaters. It's not every movie theater that does it, but then they have this section up front where it's very participatory and it's fantastic. So one of the things we have planned for the first full day is to learn a Bollywood routine so that we can participate in one of these. And then the next day in the trip when we're in Jaipur, there is a theater that this will be possible for us to participate in. And it's so much fun.
And it's one of those things for people who are afraid of dancing. It's definitely not, it's not about doing it right. It's about doing it for really for the experience. And it might feel vulnerable and it might feel embarrassing, or it just might feel joy-filled. I remember I took a class when I first arrived. I just found it on Yelp or, a site, dance classes in Delhi. And I showed up and I was the only Westerner who was there, and they were so friendly. They also had salsa classes too. That we had choices. But it was literally like a skit. You just had a couple, it was just a couple of moves that were all doable in a sense. I'm not a dancer. Like, I don't have amazing skills, but I have an enthusiasm for it. And I have way more enthusiasm than skill around dancing. But it was one of those things where you're all moving as a group, and for me, it was a connection to the culture and to the people just by participating in one of the things that they do there. And it ended up being one of my favorite things to do in Delhi when I was there.
Oh, absolutely.
And but I did not make it to a Bollywood movie that had the dancing, so that will be new for me, and I'm really excited about it.
So much fun. And then also while we're in Delhi, there's a cycling tour through the heart of Old Delhi, and which makes a profound impression. I don't want to speak too much about it beforehand, but it will certainly be unforgettable. And then we're out of the city, and we take off and we head over to Jaipur, which is one of the things that I hope will happen, and I'll see if I can coordinate it. One of the things that happened to me when I was in Jaipur the last time is a celebration, a wedding in particular, but there's many different life events that can go on in India that the approach is so different to what we do here in America. So I was staying in a hotel. I heard these noises down the hall. It was in one of the conference rooms. I kind of stuck my head around the corner, wanted to see what was going on. They saw me do it. The family brought me in. right over. We grab. Yep. The family brought me in. I ended up. It was a wedding, or no, I'm sorry, it was a 50-year wedding anniversary. They gave me a present, and it's still here. It's above. It's on the sink. You know, it's my little Ganesh. And I ended up staying with them the whole night. They brought me in. They assigned somebody from the family to just be my chaperone, or to facilitate whatever I needed. Ate with the family. They ended up bringing me up on stage. I got to toast the family. We had some dancing going on stage. They introduced me as their honored guest, and so welcoming, inclusive, such a deep tradition of inclusion that it's really difficult to compare or to really even describe in the terms of a typical modern American experience. It's so wonderful. So that happened in Jaipur. So we're headed there. There's some great things that are going on in Jaipur, and some like the Amber Fort, the City Palace, some beautiful, beautiful sights. Brought up, I have a couple pictures going on of these things in the slideshow. Some of the geometry is of particular interest to me. I ended up taking over this guy's tuk-tuk and driving everybody around myself for an afternoon, which was a lot of fun. And I'm
sure that was as much of an experience for that driver as it was for Sean.
At one point, I couldn't find the picture. At one point, there must have been at least 12 people in the back of the tuk-tuk. They thought it was fantastic that I was hanging around giving people rides. It was so much fun. And that's where we'll do the market to kitchen tour, and very good. And then we head off to we'll see the Taj Mahal on our way to the Holy Fest.
I'd like to be on the way.
On the way.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Either way, we'll see it. So we're going to be, so the city where the main place to celebrate traditional Holi is in Mathura, which is just about an hour from Agra, which is where the Taj Mahal is. So we will also see the Taj Mahal. But the experience there, we've intentionally chosen that particular city because that is where, essentially the biggest party for the Holi festival in India. Yes. And the Holi festival is celebrated. It represents the beginning of spring. It represents the good over evil. It's a kind of a rebirth time.
It's the festival of fun.
The festival of fun. And you're showering joy through color around. And it's an opportunity for traditional behavior to be cast aside, for people to kind of break out and of stereotypes and do things a little bit differently. And here's some of the pictures that I'm really just excited to see. This is not about being clean. You have to be open to getting dirty. In fact, we're going to recommend bringing some old clothes.
Absolutely.
Although a lot of the times these are natural colors. But it is, from what I've heard, and it's just something that's always just stuck with me, it is a place where you can see Indians celebrating where there's no rules for them. And there's a lot of rules in Indian culture. And here's a time where everyone can really just be having fun. And I just love the idea of a festival that's the main purpose of it. And so we're going to go to this particular town, and there is Holy Eve, and then there's the Holy Day, and then there's the day after, post-Holy, if you will. And there's different events, and
the fire ritual.
There's the fire ritual, and I'm not going to go into all of the details around it, but suffice it to say that it will provide an impressionable experience.
Absolutely. Yeah, that reminds me one of my favorite things, and we'll certainly can coordinate this if people are interested in it, was to have a local knowledgeable person explain what's going on at the train station. And at the train, so first, there's cows walking around. So you get a train station. Just picture a train station. Picture you're at Union Station downtown. There's people laying down, stacked up on the chairs, making their own chairs, moving stuff around. It's hard to walk through it. Now take 24 cows and have them going through that scene. And then, people are going all over the place for different reasons. And so one of the favorite things, I had somebody just explain to me from the dress, I can tell Sikh people, for instance, and I can recognize them in Denver, and it's such a wonderful culture, and I'm so excited to be going back to the Sikh temple. But just being in India, and this gets back to the lack of rules. Their class system is alive and well in India, and so just understanding, you can look at somebody and they're coming from this city, they're coming through this train station for this reason, they're going over here for this, and it's a fascinating story. And then you just go to the next person sitting right next to them, and they have a totally different thing going on for a different reason. And so I spent 2, maybe 3 hours with a local guy just explaining to me what the people were up to on the platform in the train station. It's so fascinating.
And that brings up a great point. One of the things is we are working with a local group in India so that we will have a local resource who is able to explain the cultural phenomenon, things that we don't know well, but who's going to be able to give their expertise and educate us about these different aspects of India that are so interesting.
Yeah, leveraging the connections from our first trips and and stuff like the hotels in Mathura are already selling out, and kind of coordinated. We've blocked off a lot of this stuff so that we can take advantage of it while we're there. And
it will be a busy time. It is the festival season.
I'm excited. I want to go now. Can we go now?
Yeah, we can just change in the culture. Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Yeah, tell them you got a big group coming. Maybe they'll change the festival for you.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I do want to just highlight is that in planning this trip and in choosing the events that we see here, that you see on the itinerary, is we're intentionally not booking every minute of every day. I don't know if anyone here has been on a tour where, breakfast is at 7:30, and then you have your first event at 8, and then you're driving around the city, seeing 10 different buildings by noon. All of you are going into a lunch, and then you're going out and doing the same thing in the afternoon. All of you going into a restaurant for dinner. And it's overwhelming. There's just so many impressions.
Well, and it's so packaged, right? It's almost like you can watch the people. I love being the guy that's just hanging out on the street corner watching these buses come up where like people put on their costumes, and it's like, oh, here come the tourists. Let's make up the town. Mm-hmm. And then, so you have 5 minutes that blow a whistle, everybody trundles off the bus, and then, 5 minutes go by and everybody trundles back up on the bus, and then you have to wait for the one straggler, and then, you just go on to the next place, and you never really get to get a sense of the place.
So yeah, for both of us, one of our ways of travel that we really believe in is it's higher quality, less quantity. We would rather see and spend more time in 1 or 2 places in a day for longer hours than see 10 places for an hour each. You really just want to be able to take it in. And so we're intentionally not choosing. There are lots of tours in India, but we're intentionally not choosing to fill the day with
a checklist.
And there's some really amazing like historical and educational places and things to see, but that's not just driving by the Parliament building in Delhi and hearing the history of India isn't that same feeling of connection and experience, which is what we're striving for on this trip. Mm-hmm. We're also intentionally leaving enough time in each day for serendipitous experiences. Instead of having every dinner planned, dinners are going to be on our own, and it doesn't mean that we're not actually going to eat together, but it does mean that we don't have the restaurant planned, so it leaves the opportunity for someone who's having a conversation. This is the favorite local restaurant in this area, or, oh, this place looks cool, or the street stand looks amazing. Why don't we just try this? So that we're leaving these the space for opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that was something that interested me too. I mean, you have an itinerary, you have an agenda, but it's not just chock full. And like you said, you're not touring people around on a bus and get off, snap your shots, check it off the list, and get back on. I've done that, and it drives me crazy. And because it never fails, I'm an amateur photographer. I am in an area, and I am just being stimulated in every sense. And I'll just say, can you guys circle back and just meet me here at the end of the day? And nope, got to get back on the bus and go see whatever else it is on the checklist that I'm supposed to see. And the whole time I'm wanting to go back to that area that I was fascinated with. And I liked the freedom that it looked like your tour had.
Yeah, and then you have those experiences where they put you into the textile mills where you need to spend an hour touring,
rolling cigars,
the overpriced goods and that kind of stuff. We're really trying to avoid all that.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
Cool. Well, that sounds exciting. Why don't let's just share some details for people. If they're interested in this trip, they can obviously go to towardawakeningtravel.com and that.
Towardawakeningtravel.com. Yep. Click on next trip. You can see the itinerary, everything we just talked about. It'll give you an idea of the days, the times, what to expect. And then if you'd like to go on and take the next step, see if our trips are right for you. So one of the things is that we're very careful to curate and qualify the people that are participating in it. So there is a level of physical ability that we're looking for, some comfort with travel. We're more interested in cultivating the community of travelers than to head to the lowest common denominator where you're paving a road up the mountaintop so that everybody can get there. We want to go into the more pristine, authentic experiences, which has a necessity for the participants to be leaning into the experience. So the first step is to take the survey, and that'll go through some of the questions of do you prefer a backpack or luggage? Are you looking for a beach resort in the 5-star all-inclusive package, or do you like to get out and do a homestay? And as we go through this, we can get a sense of each other and if it's going to make sense. And the intention is that this trip is a group of very like-minded travelers, all interested in the same type of experience.
Yeah, I think curiosity is one of the
absolutely
qualities and values that we would all share, and being willing and open to the unexpected, that when things go awry, because things will go awry, that it's okay. That it simply means that there's a new opportunity that's coming our way, and that is it okay that if a flight gets canceled, are you gonna freak out? Is that your tendency? And and maybe that's not really fair. It's not a matter of being freaking out, but is that something that's really uncomfortable for you and it's going to essentially ruin your trip?
Yep.
Because we are not promising that everything is going to be taken care of, because there are tours that are designed for that. We're intentionally designing for the unexpected to happen. So we're looking for people whose personality is curious and is open and is willing to just take a chance with something and not knowing everything that's going to happen.
One of the stories I end up telling the most now from India is this particular picture. This was a city where I was staying, and the whole city ended up 4 feet deep in water overnight, and it stayed that way for a couple of days. And just navigating that and moving around the city was a heck of an experience. And those part of the reason we've chosen India is because those types of things can happen.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got the backdrop, we've got the support, we've got the infrastructure to be able to deal with it and accommodate it. And India can seem daunting if you haven't been there before, and that's understandable, but it's also a lot of the charm. And having that flexibility to deal with something like this is just makes me excited to be alive.
Mm-hmm. If you're interested, then you could click on the survey, and at the bottom of the survey, you have the opportunity then to set up a phone call with the two of us, and we'll just ask you a few questions. You get to know us a little bit better, so that we know that it's a right fit for you. Mm-hmm. That it feels like all the different events that we're doing are, and in the style of trip that it is a match, because we want this experience to be exactly what you want it to be, and we want people on the trip who are excited about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I'm game.
Nice. So, we're excited.
Well, Sean and Janelle, thanks so much for sharing. And for people who missed it, we've recorded this so we can send details out to them. So people can reach out directly to you and figure out what to do from there. So in closing, let's kind of just change tack, and what would you say, whether someone is interested in this trip to India or any other trips, which is everyone who subscribes to my service is interested in, what would you give to them as a piece of advice for why they should travel, or why they should make travel a bigger priority in their life?
Just in their life.
Yeah.
In general, my reason for traveling is being outside of your comfort zone is a way to continue growing, but it's also really important to be reminded every time I travel that the world is actually full of really kind and curious people who are, the world is not nearly as scary as our media makes it out to be. And every time I travel, I am reminded of that regardless of religion, or differences in religion, of culture, of language, that we actually, the majority of us, have the same interest in mind, which is to care for our families and to be safe and enjoy one another.
Yeah, I'd agree. There's a difference between travel and a vacation. Vacation may be that you're burned out and you need to take a break and go sit down for a hot minute and recharge. And travel, the intention for me is always to become something new. And there's a little bit of the unknown in that, to experience something, to expand my world, to expand my perspective, to expand my my sense of things. And so the number one piece of advice I always give people when they ask about going somewhere new is not to fill up the itinerary, and to leave space and to wander out the door and see what comes. And I personally find that the most fulfilling things happen in those moments, in those spaces. But I would say the hope of the trip, and it's reflected in the name of the company, the hope of the trip is to come back, a little different, with a little different perspective or a little different outlook, and to be touched, not just to see something,
and to be able to see the world and ourselves through new eyes.
Yeah, that's well said.
That's a really good point. Well, on that note, I think we can wrap this up. Thank you very much for sharing. I think George Gershwin put it best when he was asked how he composes such beautiful music, and he said, "It's not the notes themselves that make the piece beautiful; it's the space between." And it sounds like that's what you guys have put together in this trip, and I'm excited to see both the notes and the spaces between.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So, yeah. Thanks for having us, Joel. This is great.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys.